And when you truly know a customer and have deep relationships and customers know the value that you can bring them, that is when you can move up deals. A deal becomes a priority, or a solution becomes a priority.
Thanks for tuning in to Go-to-Market Excellence. This is Dan Quirk, host of the show. My guest today is Michelle Sidwell. She's the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Sales at SalesLoft, which is the #1 sales engagement platform with over 3,500 customers worldwide. SalesLoft actually just rebranded as the Modern Revenue Workspace, which was pretty cool to see. And previously, Michelle has held sales leadership roles at Persado, Yext, and Adobe. We're thrilled to have her here today. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. Excited to be here.
When we met, Michelle, you shared a really eye-opening story with me that really described the devastating consequences of when pipeline is falling short. When sales leadership then says, okay, let's go and create a flurry of activity to save the quarter. So they say, hit the phones or send out a ton of emails, and that's not always the best way of going about things. So tell us that story and the one that you told me and some of the lessons that you learned witnessing this at a previous role.
Yeah, so I'll start off with what happened. I'll start off with what happened, and then I'll back into it. But we ended up in email jail and didn't know that email jail was an actual thing. But as a sales leader, there's nothing worse than finding out that your teams just locked you out of connecting with customers at a time that you needed them to connect with them the most.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's not. It's like entering the wrong PIN too many times and you lock yourself out of the bank account when you need to withdraw money for closing on a house, maybe ransom. Something like incredibly urgent and important, and now you can't access it. So I think we've all been there. You're in the quarter or you're looking ahead in a quarter and you're way behind on pipeline and there's this need to create some urgent pipeline. So in this situation, our executive leadership had asked everyone to reach out to all their contacts, basically hit everyone up and share news about a special offer. The teams took that literally. And unfortunately, some salespeople didn't know all the best practices and rules about sending out large quantities of emails. So they might have been using old lists. They were loading large lists. They didn't personalize the content or the subject lines, like all the bad practices that you could think of. But it was all coming together at once in extreme volume per day. And yeah, wow. And so we ended up blocked at companies in spam folders, and it just continually compounded until we had to hire experts to undo what we had all done to ourselves. So we were finding out because we were finding out from clients. We were sending emails to clients instead of emails or to set up meetings or follow up. And we weren't hearing back from clients either. And so that's when we identified the problem. So, wow. Yeah. So the moral of the story is,
yeah, let's hear it.
Don't send out mass amount of emails. You can't build pipeline that quickly, and don't use old lists. Make sure your lists are clean along with the content and the intent. And most importantly, work and coordinate with your marketing teams to structure emails and organize content and cadences that are best practices, and don't put it in the hands of large sales teams.
Yeah.
Volume is not.
In other words, you can't save the quarter with last minute prospecting.
Yeah, and volume is not the answer. Like I said, be thoughtful, put the customer at the center, and always build on conversations with value in mind.
Why do you think so many people miss this? The story you just told is this last minute scramble. We're light on pipeline. We're going to come up short for the quarter. Why do people think that they can solve that with like last minute outbound?
I think it's just that knee-jerk reaction. I think it's that I can fix this if we just have more, and out of the more, we'll get some. And I mean, the reality is in enterprise sales, you need to make plans early on, starting conversations early, building on relationships, again, having the customer in mind and putting them in center, and just understanding, what is a company's priorities, or, knowing them and understanding them can help support that, and how you can help support them along the way. So, one of the things that you can't do is you can't get a last minute deal. You can't save the quarter if you don't have a relationship and you don't understand the customer. You have to be in tune with the organization. They have to want to work with you. I was lucky enough to work with David Rudnitsky, who wrote the SaaS Sales Playbook. I don't know if you've heard of that, but he was an executive at Salesforce, and when SaaS became a thing, he helped put together this playbook that made Salesforce very successful. And one of his golden rules was to know a customer better than they know themselves. And when you truly know a customer and have deep relationships, and customers know the value that you can bring them, that is when you can move up deals. A deal becomes a priority, or solution becomes a priority, or they'll go to bat for you to find budget to move deals and move things forward in the quarter. The relationship and value selling in that process is really key and critical to help save quarter or close deals. And I saw this many times with AEs that were really relationship sellers. I know relationship sellers has gotten a little bit of a bad rap on and off through the evolution of selling, right? There's the challenger sales model and other models that kind of.
Well, challenger would say the relationship-based salesperson doesn't perform as well as the challenger salesperson based on their data. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, please. Yeah, that's true. And I think there's been some over rotation over the years where you get away from that relationship selling. But when my AEs would build these deep relationships with clients, and they understand, and go back to Dave's role of knowing the customer better than they know themselves, or really understanding their highest priorities, that's when all the magic kind of happens. And I would see teams manufacture deals within quarters over and over, and it would be purely built off of understanding goals and aligning with their goals or the challenges they were currently having, and backing into launch plans, coordinating or building plans together, but always solving problems and collaborating together.
So you joined SalesLoft just a couple of months ago, and in case this podcast doesn't publish until November, you joined SalesLoft in August of 21, and shortly thereafter, you guys rebranded as the Modern Revenue Workspace. Obviously, there's a lot happening at SalesLoft. You guys are trying to scale and continue to grow the brand in a major way. What were you brought in to? What did the CRO bring you in to do, and what are your highest priority things right now? And how does your background how did your background prepare you for this role?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I was brought in to help scale the enterprise business and help really grow our enterprise business. And my background, or I guess what he found in my background, was that I've had experience scaling and growing teams and helping identify issues or maybe some inefficiencies within processes or within teams that are blocking us from doing that. And so, I've been at SalesLoft for a month and a half. There's a lot of things that we're looking at and that we're doing that we're excited about in the coming year to roll out. But the first and foremost is really getting a little bit deeper and building larger opportunities, larger deals that customers are faced with. I mean, there's a huge shift, we all know, that's happened during the pandemic, where sales teams that were always on the road or meeting with customers in person have been flipped upside down. And what SalesLoft is doing is helping sales teams solve for those problems and become more efficient and become more nimble, so that they can spend more time understanding the customer, so that they can help them solve the same challenges that they're probably experiencing at their organizations. This shift, this change to a digital world fully, and so I'm helping figure out what are those processes. How do we better understand our clients? How do we better align with their goals and initiatives? How do we align all the way up to the C-suite with the goals and initiatives, so that we can help them perform better and excel during these changing times that we're all experiencing.
Sure. Along those lines, it sounds like obviously the pandemic flipped strategic selling upside down, because you can't go out and meet with customers as much anymore. But it seems like buyers, for one reason or another, are also making decisions faster too. Have you noticed those dynamics? I mean, the G2 buyer behavior report came out this week, and it says that 54% of buyers need 3 months or fewer to make a software purchase of $20,000 or more. Now, I know you guys sell deals much larger than that at SalesLoft, especially on the strategic side, but have you been noticing that decisions on the buyer side are happening faster? And what are the dynamics that you think are affecting that?
Yeah, yes, we've seen some quick decisions, or decisions to scale faster. It all goes back to what those goals or initiatives are, and then to grow revenue, build pipeline, reduce churn, ramp faster are really what we're hearing. And then some of it is also coming from feedback from the sales teams and individuals saying that they want better experiences at the company. They need better tools. So companies doing surveys internally, companies are listening. We're going through this great attrition, right? There's 40% of employees, according to a new McKinsey report. It's called the Great Attrition. I think it equals like the Great Attraction. It's this opportunity. Even though we're going through this great attrition, there's this great attraction. If you can align and meet your employees where they want you to meet them, and by giving them better tools, you have a better chance of retaining them. And so there's 40% of employees plan to leave in the next 3 to 6 months, and that over almost half of them are willing to leave without having another job lined up, which is pretty crazy. So yes, we're experiencing faster decision making because companies are trying to make these decisions to make their employees happier, more fulfilled, more successful, more efficient, more productive, all of these things. And even the leaders to help support the ramp that they need to do, because now they're hiring faster more than ever too.
Needless to say, you can do it all in the modern revenue workspace.
Thank you for clearing that
out. Yeah, no problem. So you've been brought in, and obviously you've had experience in the past. Some of your expertise in the past is you're a great planner, you're a great aligner of cross-functional teams, go-to-market teams, sales, SDR, marketing teams. What are you putting in place at SalesLoft, and why is alignment going to be key to your success in the coming months and years?
Well, I guess I'm revealing a little bit behind the scenes. So I
won't tell anybody.
So what we're doing first is making sure that teams are well supported, looking at the structure of teams and making sure that we have the right talent and the right leadership structured within the team, so that the account executives have the right amount of attention and support to be successful. So we're looking at creating additional teams, having, I have teams that have large number of AEs and some teams that don't have as many. So trying to balance that out so that there's a good ratio. So we have that coverage so we can be thoughtful, strategic in our planning when we go to market and look at our clients and our prospects. The second is moving into a pod model. Right now, there's a lot of going it alone. Account executives are carrying the weight maybe of not just selling and prospecting, but also support and demoing and other things. And so getting the ratio of account executives to RVP is important, but also what else is important is getting the ratio of the whole ecosystem to those individuals. So solution or sales engineers, value engineering, customer success, outbound, SDRs, BDR ratio, all those things that surround a client and putting the client at the center of it in that movement so that we can be more mindful and supportive in the goals and objectives that the client's trying to achieve. Back to your point, people are buying faster. People need to solve problems faster because of these shifts and the changes that are going on. It used to be make a plan, and then you work the plan, but now plans are more on the go for companies and individuals. They're constantly shifting. So we're trying to create these pod ecosystems that align with customers so that we can move as a unit and be more strategic.
That's super interesting. On this podcast, we try to go as deep as guests are willing to share. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you to share trade secrets or company secrets, but could you take us a little deeper on this pod setup? Because there's going to be people listening who aren't at companies of SalesLoft scale, but they want to be building a world-class sales team and go-to-market team. So these pods, how are they? You mentioned they're built around customers. Are you referring to individual customers, like one customer at a time, or groups of customers, or and then how do you build these pods out? Like how many people are in a pod, things like this?
Yeah, we're still working on all the details, but it's really in mind. We start with the RVP. Looking at the RVP,
meaning
the regional vice president of our region. So it could be at the west or the northeast of the enterprise. And then how many people can an RVP successfully manage? And I think there's studies out there that around six to seven, you get more time, you get the right alignment, you get the right strategy to be successful, according to some CRO studies. And then from there, so you land at about 6 to 7, maybe, account executives per team. Then we look at how many, how many accounts do we assign to that account executive, and how many can they handle, can they reach? There's a balance between existing clients and prospects because we're trying to grow the business, right? We're in the trajectory from, we just broke 100 million in order to scale. So in order to scale, we want to be able to, we need to increase our team sizes. We need to decrease the account ratio to do that. And then, so going back to that account executive and how many accounts they have, how many AEs, account executives, can a solutions consultant or sales engineer cover successfully? And then looking at, how does the customer success manager, how many accounts and how many AEs can a customer success manager have? And we want to make sure that those customer success managers and account executives are on the same accounts. We don't want them having different experiences and different people bouncing around. You want to keep it lasered. And then going into, a value engineer, services consultant, on and on, making sure that that account executive has the same people that they work with throughout the year, that they lean on, that they work together so that they can have their own little pod or team meetings to strategize and talk about what's going on with that account list or client list, prospect list, and how do they best serve them.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
And so a pod may consist of solutions engineer, CS, customer success manager, value engineer, services consultant, and they all work with a certain number of AEs.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. And then for the sales development and marketing side of things, are they also in the pod, or are they kind of more, do they cut across multiple pods?
I haven't got to that layer yet, but I think they're more regional, is the way we have it set up now. So there's a field marketing and account-based marketing that are assigned more regionally, and I think that still works. And as we grow, it might be by a team. I'm not sure. That's a whole other area with our marketing team to coordinate. But right now, we're looking at pod structure. Again, one of at SalesLoft, we really do put customer first. It's one of our core values. And so how do we actually show that? And how do we live that? And so this is how we're thinking about it and how we're moving forward in our planning. So it will help us scale, it'll help us be more nimble, and hopefully more successful, and our customers will feel that sales love that we exude.
Yeah. Well, we certainly do. We're a customer.
Thank you.
So you haven't, obviously you've only been there a couple of months and you haven't executed on all the strategies and planning you're doing, but from your, perhaps you can speak from previous roles, you were clear when we first chatted that go-to-market leaders need to, especially on the sales side, need to get involved more with marketing demand gen and plan out strategies more from the beginning as opposed to operating in silos. Yep. So can you share a little bit more about this tight alignment and specifically where, I think you mentioned that especially leading up to big events, this is critical. And so could you share a little bit more about that and how you go about planning with marketing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm channeling my David Rudnitsky today, but it feels like I want to give credit where credit's due, because I didn't make these golden rules up. But one of the others is deals are not won or lost alone. Like you need to win and lose as a team. And if you work as a team and coordinate on strategy that has a customer again at the center, you have the greatest chance of winning. So, coordinating with SDRs, BDRs, the marketing teams is really, really critical. This starts back again with knowing the customer better than they know themselves, and building out those org charts and aligning and connecting the dots between your organization and their organization so you're not single-threaded is important. And then really getting to understand not just, the company's milestones and buying cycles and, their existing tech stack and, all those things that we traditionally need to do, but really understanding the individuals as well, understanding what motivates them, what moves them, where did they come from, what are they interested in, what are they charged with, all of those things. And so that you can meet the customer, at that intersection of what are they trying to solve for, what's top of mind for them, but then also, what moves them. And so when you're able to do that and you do that collectively, not just alone, by leveraging the outbound teams and the marketing teams, and you can coordinate and you can get more eyes on it, more touches, or solutions that you might want to use for account-based marketing, like things like Alice. That's where customers feel connected, and they feel the warm and fuzzies of your brand, and they feel like you get them, that's what you want to do, right? Like, people buy because they feel the connection. They feel that you're what they, you're the person they want to buy from. You're the company they want to work with. You understand their problems. You understand their needs. You understand where they're going. You get each other. And so account executives are good at what they do, but they don't know everything and they can't do everything. And having the outbound teams and the marketing teams who are experts in these fields are really focused on those initiatives is where you need to lean in and coordinate and brainstorm and get the best ideas.
Mm-hmm. What have been some of the secrets for you to make sure that your reps are totally equipped and actually can learn the customer? Because, it might be one thing if you have a couple reps under you, but when you start having a team the size that you have, getting that knowledge, the existing knowledge, and then acquiring new knowledge about customers and their problems and is a huge task. So what have you learned that perhaps others can act on?
Some of them are just like some basic, those basic things like researching your customer or reading articles or reading their posts to find out what they're interested in, commenting on their post back to them. If they're posting something in LinkedIn, pay attention. What are they posting? What are they writing about? What are they interested in? Read it, give feedback, make comments, engage, in an email to them about it. Like, I saw your article, or I saw you speak at this webinar, or I saw you, I saw a podcast, engage with them, act like you care. Know what college they went to, send them something that's, logo branded, know that they like dogs, know that they have a dog. You could find out a lot of this information from what people are posting. But pay attention. Those are the things that I try to instill. I read a book a few years back. It's called Insight Selling. And I was intrigued by it because I had some sales reps that were always at the top, like over and over and over. And I was trying to put my finger on what are they doing? Because, a couple of them were not of the cut cloth, right? That you would normally believe or think that they would be the top performers. And what it was really boiled down to is this book is based on this research where they did this study of all those top performers, and they boiled it down to really, I'll keep it short, but 3 things, which I refer to as the 3 C's. So it's the ability to connect, the ability to convince, and then collaborate. And the study was that 50% of why customers buy is through connection. They like you. They see a commonality. You have the ability to understand them. They feel like you're listening to them. They feel like they're heard or understood. It's those simple things. So that'll be 50% of the deal. 50% of why you are out of a deal or lose a deal is simply on connection, because they have a preconceived notion of who they want to buy from or what they want it to be like, or what the brand or the solution should be. The second is 75% of the way of getting to closing a deal is by convincing them. I mean, once they like you, can you convince them that you're the best solution out there? You convince them that the risk is worth the move. All of those things and how you position that and how you talk about that and how you weave in solutions to their problems. And then to get to 85% of the way that you can win a deal is through collaboration. Allowing them to experience what it's like to work with you, what it's like to, build together out a mutual plan, or maybe architecting on a solution, or whatever that looks like. However that you experience collaboration will get you 85% of the way there. And then the last 15% is, all the procurement, finance, budget approval stuff that we all know that we may or may not be able to influence. But But it really boils down to those three things, and the sales process, and whatever that is, the methodology, all goes underneath that. How we track deals, what stages of deals, and moving things through the process is all underneath that. But those three C's really lie with the control and the ability of the account executive to connect and with the team that's surrounding. And so how you coordinate and execute is what will get you there.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. So do you, those first couple things, connecting and convincing that you're the best, those make complete sense. The third one, collaboration, that strikes me that's providing a lot of value to the prospect before they ever purchase your solution. So is that something that you're planning on implementing at SalesLoft, and how are you adding value to the customer, and maybe even building out a project plan for how they can be successful with SalesLoft tools?
Yes. Yes, we're still exploring some ideas there, but the collaboration, when I talk with just taking a step back, when I talk with account executives, or I talk with sales leaders, or we're going through deal reviews, or planning, I ask them, like, how are you connecting with them? Tell me how you're connecting. What is the connection? Tell me, what do we need to do to convince them? And then we get to the collaboration part. Like, how are we collaborating? Like, how are you setting up time with them to get the feedback? Are they allowing you to collaborate? Are they telling you, are you able to work together to put together a demo that hits the mark? Because we might have to do a demo to, the decision maker, and what's important to this decision maker, and is that champion helping you build out the best demo? And that includes all of the things that we need to know, integrations to certain solutions, or maybe it's not just integrations to solutions, but like certain tasks or cadences or views that are important that needs to be a part of this. And if that champion is helping you along the way, and you have that collaboration, we have a better chance of winning. If the champion is like, well, just show us your demo, then we're probably we're not going to hit that 85% chance. We might be stuck a little bit more in the 75 or closer to 50. Like, we might only got through the connection part, but we're not getting higher in our chances to win. And and collaboration also just putting together a mutual close plan or any of those things along the way.
Yeah. Do you adjust your deal stages or opportunity stages based on to align to the connect, convince, convert, or connect, convince, collaborate, or is that more of a theoretical thing that layers over any kind of like underlying opportunity stages that the company tracks?
I use it as more of an overlay, but it helps me determine the likelihood of a deal to close. So the deal stages are still the deal stages, like qualification and demonstration or negotiation, all of those things. But where I place a deal likelihood to commit or probable or best case, I might take into account what I'm hearing or what's not happening, and then help coach. Well, what are some other ways we can collaborate? What are some ways we can get the customer engaged? What are some ways, what are they concerned about? What haven't we maybe convinced them that we're the best solution? And why are they not working together with us to make this all come together and happen? And so it's more of the why that helps you uncover and look to see the why not than the stage.
Gotcha. To do this successfully on larger deals, obviously you need to have a tight partnership with marketing. I alluded to that earlier. You have a background in marketing at Adobe. So how does that background help you and more on the sales side now appreciate the coordination and collaboration with marketing from the planning stages all the way through to execution and then measurement of any kind of like strategic or account-based programs that you're running?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say I have mad respect for marketing. It's a tough job, and it's a very demanding job, and there's a lot of aspects for marketing. The way that it helps me is just again going back to thinking about the customer, and then from a sales perspective, I try to share what I'm hearing in the field or what I'm seeing in the field back with the marketing team to help them adjust or pivot in the ways that we connect with the client and how we meet them at the intersection of the problem they're trying to solve and where we can help support them.
Do you have any examples?
Yeah. So, So, one example is, I'll say one of the largest examples is how we might message or how we might build out some presentations or around. I learned this from Adobe. One of the things I really walked away from with Adobe is you don't, like, if you're a customer and you're engaged with Adobe, like you're not buying Adobe, right? Like you're buying Adobe, but you can't buy everything. There's a lot of products, right? And so the way that Adobe, and this is in my words, has been successful is they meet the customer at the problem that they're experiencing and how they solve it. And so I'll use the product that I was in just because it's the easiest for me to give the analogy. Mm-hmm. We were selling mobile apps. We had a mobile app solution. Well, how does a mobile app solution, connect with, a retailer, a higher education, a financial institution, a high-tech company? Oh, you need a mobile app. Well, why do I need a mobile app? Well, it's not that you might need a mobile app. You might need a sales engagement tool. And here's how the sales engagement tool will help your sales team be more nimble or take orders or deliver more engaging content or presentations. It was more about what was the solution that you might need to solve for a problem that you're experiencing. And so it was a better way to update content or engage the client and things of that nature. And so the way that we would go to market was not mobile. We would have the overarching mobile app solution and how that fit within Adobe Experience Manager, which is a bigger product and initiative. But we would meet the customer at sales engagement. How do we help your sales team become better engaged with the client? And so that's where we would start. And then what that was comprised of is 5 products from Adobe and that we put together with, plus a partner. But you can't come at the customer with 5 products plus a partner mm-hmm. and all of these things because it's overwhelming and it may not make sense. But what makes sense is this solution. And so that was one of the biggest things that I walked away from. And when you sell a solution, then you can align the right partners. You can enable your sales team on what is the average deal size of this, who are your buyers, who's the line of business owner, what is the messaging, what are the materials that will help you sell this through, how can you build out your whole plan to get to your quota with this solution plus maybe 4 others. And so it simplifies something that is really large, and I would refer to it as you can't eat an elephant in one bite. And it just kind of helps you break everything down. And so, that's helped me learning that the way that Adobe's been successful in their go-to-market strategy and how they align the value and then the products behind the solution is carried with me. And even at Yax, it was, we had a platform and there was like 4 products, within the platform, but you couldn't go to like a healthcare system and like try to sell them all of these things. You're like, we can help you, we can help your client, we can help your patients find a doctor, we can help patients find a specialty, we can help you find these things based on location, and that's what they understood. And like, yeah, we need that. And then you back into, well, then you need these 3 products to make that happen, and these services. And so I think that's really important, to boil it down and simplify things. And so, I think that's the most important thing that I've learned in marketing and has carried through, and that I share with my sales teams, and then also how I bridge the gap, if you will, if there is a gap between sales and marketing. What I tried to do is try to communicate that, so that, again, there's a theme, at the customer's at the center. And how do we tell a story that solves a problem?
All right, quick side note. Is it harder or easier to sell to other salespeople now that you're at SalesLoft? Like you weren't selling to sales teams at Yext, right? You were selling to, no. And before that at Adobe, were you selling to sales teams?
No, there were several different lines of business owners, but it was mostly it's mostly been marketing or IT.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so how is it selling like you came up through sales, you're a sales leader, selling to other salespeople? Is that easier? Is it more natural, or are there nuances that you didn't think about before you joined?
My initial, I've been here a little over a month and a half.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely love it because I feel like I understand, like I get you. Like I get you. I understand what you're trying to do. I've been in your shoes myself. Like I'm in your shoes right now. I get you. So that part is fun and is great. So there's that component that there's not a learning curve. I'm not learning a new line of business owner, but it is new in the sense of how do they buy? How do they want to buy? How do they want to, how do I help them achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve, which are similar goals that I'm trying to achieve.
Sure.
So it's still learning that process. I'd say I'm not an expert yet, but I'm definitely excited about the path of learning.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit to a few leadership topics. First one being hiring. When we previously talked, you had said that one of the learning experiences you had in the past was hiring too fast, and so take us back to those moments when you realized, I should have been more patient. What did you learn about hiring, and how do you apply those learnings today?
Yeah, I think the rule that I've learned, I've been a manager for a long time, on and off in my career, but is to slow down. I think, with LinkedIn and resumes, you look and you see what their past is and what their experience has been, and you think, oh, that's a really good fit, or oh, they get it, or they'll be a natural at this. And so you might skip some steps, and I'd say don't skip the steps. Stick to the plan of the getting to know the people, reference check, maybe multiple reference check, but also have them share presentations, or have them share their 30, 60, 90-day plan, or have them, take you through deal strategy, whatever that is. And then if you can, it's really been hard with digital, but can we meet in person? Can we grab coffee? Can we grab some lunch? Really get to know them personally, or how they are, face to face, especially in sales, and so experience them in different situations. And how do you feel? How do you feel about all these different things? And really listen to your gut. And then ask them, like, why they made different decisions in their life. Like, why did you go there? What made you make that change? Really be curious about the decisions and the path, and, going back, from one of the things I've learned at SalesLoft is we do this top grade where we go back to high school and we ask them questions like, what were you thinking about? Why did you decide to go to that college, or why did you decide to take that job? And so that you deeply understand what moves them, what motivates them, or where they're coming from. And we spend more time with colleagues than we do with our own family, right? A lot of times. And so it's unfortunately, yeah. And so it's choose who you want to work with too, and make sure it's also both sides. On the flip side, you have to be, it's not just all about you. You have to be a good fit for them. What if they got caught up in the moment and they don't really like you? So taking these extra steps gives them the opportunity to learn more about you and the company and other people at the company to see if it's a good fit for them. Going back to that study from McKinsey, you don't want to fall in the trap where people are moving jobs because then they realize it wasn't a good fit for them either. It's really costly. It can also be emotionally taxing depending on the situation if it's not a good fit, or physically, because now you're picking up slack or you're doing things that you need to do because it didn't work out. So, and one of the biggest reasons that people are leaving or changing jobs is because there's that sense or lack of sense of inclusion or value. So creating a community and feeling of inclusion is really key. So don't make it fast. Don't make it one way when you're making your decisions.
Wow, very interesting. I had an interesting conversation with Brian Froling he's the head of global sales at Bright Cove, and he said that his success rate of hiring new reps really skyrocketed when he started asking one question on the interviews. He would look at the candidate and say, Michelle, who did you report to at your last job, or who did you from the last job you resigned from? Who did you report to? And you would say Jim Smith. And then at the interview would respond, okay, how do you spell Smith? Because to let them know, like, you're dead serious about this reference check. And then you say, when I talk to Jim Smith, how is he going to rank you on a scale of 1 through 10? And Brian just went on to say that people absolutely fold, and they start telling you all these honest thoughts about what you're going to find out when they talk to the previous boss. And he said, it's such an incredible question because people are surprisingly honest. Yeah. And he said his success rate on hires has just gone through the roof since he started that, which I thought was great. But I had to plug that since we're talking about hiring. Yeah, it's a great
tip. I used one that I learned at Yax was tell me 3 things a former colleague or manager would say about you in just 3 descriptions. And then you flip it and you're like, okay, now tell me 3 things that you're someone who's known you since your childhood or very close to you, knew you when you were young. What would they say about you? And then there's this moment of sometimes it's kind of the same thing or a moment of horror. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting the answers, but I like this. Tell me who you work for and how do you spell that? And do you mind if I reach out to them? That's it.
Yeah,
it's good.
So you, Steve Goldberg, the CRO of SalesLoft, brought you in, and you obviously are playing a huge role, but you're also one day shooting to make the jump to Chief Revenue Officer yourself. So for people who are maybe in the same position, they're a sales leader, and someday they'd like to be the Chief Revenue Officer and they're in the C-suite, what are the things you're doing to prepare for that? And obviously you look for a job that would help prepare you for that. So what would you recommend to other people who are maybe in similar shoes or about to be in similar shoes as you for how to prepare to make the jump?
Yeah, I would just say talk to other sales leaders that are in higher higher positions within an organization, ask them what made them successful, ask them, what's most important to them, advice that they have for you. It's really important to get that mentorship and leadership. I've been incredibly lucky. I get to work with Steve. He helps open doors for me, give me the exposure to things that I feel that I need to work on or that I need to better understand. And so having those mentors and helping you along the way hone your skills. And some of it is deciding or understanding if I would even be a good fit by having those experiences and those conversations are really key.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us today, Michelle. It's been a great conversation, and best of luck as you hit your stride at SalesLoft. We're just entering fourth quarter now as we record. So, best wishes on a huge fourth quarter, a first full quarter in your seat, and hope to catch up with you down the road.
Thanks, Dan.